Well, there we go.
Because we're live.
Ah,
Welcome to the Oh, goodness. High Octane. Welcome to the Gordox Pub. And that's all the energy I have tonight. I'm sorry.
you need to be as bombastic as the government's being.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, it's just so funny. You watch
Yeah.
people explode all over the place for stuff that they were literally rooting for when it was Clinton.
Yeah, I know. I just...
Well, I'm just saying, it's funny. I'm not.
My aunt, who likes to post a whole bunch of hippie liberal crap, posted this big long thing that she got from Occupy Democrats, which you got to roll your eyes as soon as you see that. And I'm going through and I'm reading it, and it's about how all these wonderful things you got to thank a hippie liberal for. And I mean, it literally says like stuff like hippie liberal. And I'm reading this, and I'm like, and everything that's on there reminds me of something that other people had noticed, was that most of the Republican Party now basically are Kennedy Democrats. And I'm looking at all these things that my aunt is saying, think a hippie liberal, are all things that happened like before I was born. And I'm like, yeah, okay. If you want to say that that's what it took, fine. But it's like all those examples are things from like way in the past. And some of the stuff I was like, I could go through and point out things, that are more modern, and I don't think you'd be thankful for them. But they're just stuck in the past, man. Of course, when you look at some of the images coming from them, and they all of their top Democrat politicians, except for maybe Gavin Newsom, are like, I don't know, they were elected by Methuselah, and it just kind of shows.
Some minor adjustments. I put a paper towel over this because
It's not decent.
I've been using this piece of paper towel
Yeah.
to block my hands from smudging things that I didn't want to smudge.
Uh-huh.
And I realized that I had something just for that. But I have to move some stuff around to get to it. Because I have to shit 6x4. Oh, that's great.
Okay, the audio on this is amazing. I have a feeling it doesn't feel amazing on your end, but that was just kind of funny.
Yeah.
I'm Batman. That's a self-portrait on Casual Friday.
I had to plug my earphones back in. Yeah, I'm not amused. Of course, it's made worse by the fact that the SI joint function, this function is acting up, so everything sucks.
Oh.
I don't know, I thought I could just reach up and grab some stuff.
Denied.
Apparently. Guess I'm gonna have to just start throwing shit out.
Okay, well, while you're looking for whatever it is that you're looking for, what did you want to talk about?
I'm not looking for anything. I'm just straightening shit up because everything collapsed.
Well, it's awesome visuals. So I was just going to ask you about Mike Mignola. Like, what?
Mike
You asked-
Mignola?
Yeah.
Because it's Mignola.
Okay, Mignola.
Hey, that's his name.
Mignola.
I try to pronounce people's names right. If they're real names. I'm not making some weird shit up.
Aren't all names kind of made up?
No.
They're not?
Nope. You're talking about naming conventions?
Oh, I was just saying
all of
that.
them are just made up. Some of them go by profession. Some of them go by locality.
Yeah, but it's the same thing when someone says that's a made-up word. It's like, well, yeah, all words are made up.
Yeah, except for a word that doesn't exist that you make up so that you can confound somebody. Not the same as a word that exists and people are given the understanding in the language of it. But that's splitting hairs, and I'm not here to split hairs. I'm here to get this. All that for this.
It's fascinating.
And that's my XP pen, which I don't use that often, and I haven't used here at all. But somebody put it under my life box, which is fine, but I was like, oh, I need that glove. Because it's a half glove.
Oh.
And it's neat for drawing on the XP pen without rubbing your fingers, oils, and stuff on there.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I'm like, hey, and it's washable. So that's what all the effort was for. It wasn't all for nothing, even though it ended up being a calamity for a minute. Or for 10 minutes, apparently.
For 10 minutes, man. But anyway, I was still wondering.
When you're fucking picking shit up and making sure things ain't broke.
But, yeah, so you wanted me to watch that documentary. I have watched said documentary. So, why? Why did I watch that documentary other than you asked me to?
You don't know why from watching it?
Well, I wanted to know what you wanted me to get out of it.
I didn't want you to get anything out of it. I wanted to know what you got out of it, what you thought about it. And because it's directly relating to creating your own comic book.
Okay.
And creating your own style and breaking norms.
Well, okay, except for one of the things I looked at that. I mean, how do I don't begrudge the guy any success that he has, and I like his art style. So I have nothing wrong with that. I like the strong silhouettes.
It sounds like a butt.
Well, it's just that he did not just start some, like, it's what we're doing is, I would say, quite a bit different than what he did when he started his own, because he already had credits to his name in comics. So I'm not as impressed with him starting his own comic. Not that it's not impressive. Like, don't get me wrong. It is 100% impressive. But he had some ends. You know what I mean? There were some doors that were open to him. And he did that by, like the movie says, going and basically hanging out on their stoop until they felt sorry for him. So he put some work into it.
I don't know if I'd equivocate. I don't know if that's the same. My opinion is because the times are completely different now. You can't use his methods of getting into the business originally, but I don't think he was as successful as you make it out to sound before he started his own comic, which is why he was so worried about it. But
no, I'm simply saying he knew people.
My point was that, or one of the things that made me interested in the documentary was that he ended up deciding to do what he wanted at the risk of pretty much everything. And at first, it didn't pay off. But he stuck with it.
Uh-huh.
I thought it was kind of inspirational. He developed his own style. And I like a lot of what he's doing with his style, in that he's he innovated pretty much the idea of readable abstractness. So you can tell what he's drawing. But there's much more to it. I guess I got more out of it than you did, which, I guess to each their own.
Why do you think you got more out of it? Just because I said that he had ends, he knew people, and
Well,
he did.
because
Says that
that's
right in
what
the thing.
because that's what you boiled it down to. Well, the people that he knew weren't all that famous.
Yeah, but
Like
again,
Art Adams became famous, but when Art Adams and him got together, both of them weren't. They were living in the same apartment.
yeah. I watched the documentary, man. I know. I just he had worked for the major comics. Like it's one of the, it's he had done a Batman. I mean, it's not exactly like he was in the minor leagues or something. He had
Yeah,
done
actually, it
some
kind of
stuff.
was. Like he had one shot or whatever, but
Well, that's a heck of a lot more than most people do.
Before he did Hellboy, he got Gaslight and Gotham, and the rest of the stuff that he did was kind of second string, like you would think second or third string quarterback type of thing. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been where he is, but he didn't get a lot of great credit until he developed that style. And he developed that style going back to look at Jack Kirby, who he really wasn't a fan of, which is another thing that I was really interested in. Like, I'm not going to draw like Mignola. You see what I mean? But I can think about it in terms of what Mignola was saying. And I found it kind of inspirational to think about it that way, where you're not limited to, especially these days. I mean, they didn't have the same availability. There wasn't, I mean, there wasn't really crowdfunding, but you could be a independent comic, but the independent comics were really hard to get anywhere with. Like there's very few independent comics before that made it really big. So I also found it interesting that he was like, I just want to draw monsters, and that's what he ended up doing, is just drawing monsters. And so it got me to thinking about a different approach to some of the art and some of the storytelling. Like, it's not meant to be a source of contention. It's meant to be a source of inspiration. And when I said that I think I got more out of it than you did, because you don't sound very excited or like you got very much out of it. I could be wrong, but that's exactly what you sound like. Like, okay, well, why did I watch that? Well, apparently, there's no reason. They're just my suggestion.
Okay.
Well, I was wanting to discuss it, but
okay. So what did you want to discuss about it? Just saying, what did you think? All right. Well, that was one of the things. That's one of the things.
Well, that's a start. That's a starting place. I mean, like, what did you think about it? What was your overall impressions? Anything strike you? These are the kinds of things I was talking about. Like, I don't have to put all the things that I was struck about. I'd like to hear if there's something that, made you think or inspired you to anything, or if you liked it or if you hated it, any of that. Like, I'm not saying like, hey, you should go with what I go with. Just was wondering if you had an impression from it.
I don't know. I mean, like
He's all right.
some of the stuff, it was kind of funny because they don't mention a lot of it, and it's weird because you see more of it by the end of it. But at the beginning, he seems like a likable, shy guy, and by the end, he seems a bit more demanding. And I don't know. I was like, all right, I don't know if I.
Because you mean demanding as in his comic company and what his characters are represented like?
Well, yeah, kind of. I don't know. I just was
You
like,
think
all
that's
right.
justified?
Sure, but
Okay, just asking.
just some of the stuff that they allude to some of the things, and it was just like, yeah, I think that's starting to kind of show as the film goes on, and but then they were showing stuff about how, and I guess I should know more about the comic, I guess, but certain things have to be done right, and that seemed kind of nebulous, but which is fine. I have no problem with that, but it's just I can see that being frustrating, and which some of the artists alluded to in the documentary, and then it just seemed like at the beginning he was a little bit more humble, and at the end he was a little bit more, I don't know, curmudgeonly, which they kind of hint at and
Yeah,
mention.
he says people call him that.
Yeah, I know, but then they don't really show it too much. But then and that always just kind of makes me like, well, what are you covering up? Which is weird. I don't know. Just thought that was strange, but
I don't know. I think that if you own something, I think Todd McFarlane's curmudgeonly over some of the Bond stuff. You just don't see
I
it as
agree.
much.
No, I think he's a.
But
No. I think you see that a lot with him. I think you see it a lot.
Well,
and that's the thing. I mean, even in the documentary, though, they were going on about how he's helped all these people, and yet, while you have to be right, you got to get some stuff right. I was looking at some of the stuff they're showing, and I'm like, well, those are wildly different styles. So is he talking about you have to get the art right, or you have to get the story right? And so I was a little confused by that, I guess. But you look at things that like videos of George Lucas walking by and just no, I like that. Get rid of this, like and these creators that have this, I don't know, an aesthetic that they have in their head, and then you're letting other people play in your sandbox, but you still have your aesthetic. I get that. I completely understand where he's coming from. I didn't like the way he can say whether it's right or not, but he can't tell what it is before he. And maybe that wasn't the point of the documentary. I don't know, but he never actually said what makes it right in the documentary. And so I'm looking at some of the stuff like, all right, so what makes this a Mike McNeil? I can't say it tonight. My nose is so stuffy.
Mignola.
Yeah, I know that. Anyway, so I don't understand. I guess when I started breaking down the artwork, I was going through and I'm like, okay, so it's solid color swabs for the most of it. It's got some, I would say, Polynesian influence and minimalist, but like I'm trying to go through some of the stuff, but I'm like,
I don't know if I'd see any Polynesian.
yeah, maybe it's not Polynesian. Some of the facial features with the wide mouths, the way the noses are. They're not very European looking, which is fine. But I don't really care. I'm just saying they're I
So
was
what I really like about Mignola that I guess hyper focused on the documentary
you know
was his storytelling ability without having to draw all the excess crap around to tell a story.
yeah
And I think it's more of a revolutionary way to look at it because even though it didn't allude to it, or I don't know if anybody's ever compared it that way, but if you look at Frazetta's drawings, they're never really completely rendered in the backgrounds. They are like set pieces. They're like almost Gene Cornwell's vignettes.
uh-huh.
And he draws in vignette. And I like the chiaroscuro where it's fading into shadow and out of shadow because that gives a certain feel. And when you're drawing a quasi horror anything anyway, that just adds to the feel. But all right, so cutting to the chase. If I called myself anything,
Uh-huh.
as far as type of artist goes or whatever, ultimately it'd be a fantasy artist.
Okay.
Fantasy is what got me into it. Fantasy is what I love to do the most. The way that I represent my characters are generally in a kind of a fantasy aesthetic.
Uh-huh.
And that's really what I like to draw. So thinking about him saying, I just want to draw monsters,
Uh-huh.
made me think how much I just want to draw fantasy. So,
Well,
like,
I wondered if
taking-
that was
taking the approach of turning this into a fantasy feel. Much like what he was doing is what I'm saying, I guess.
That's why I asked why I watched that, because I felt like there was probably something there, and I.
No, that's all right. That's why that's what I got out of it. Like, you don't have to get out of it what I got out of it. You don't even have to
that makes
like it.
That made perfect sense, and no, that rings perfectly clear. And there were two things I suppose I thought about that, because I'm watching this and I'm like, I mean, I'm literally asking myself, okay, why is Rich having me watch this? Because I don't think you just have me watch it just because, I don't know, like there's something aesthetically, there's a message that you want to share. Like I figure there's some reason you want me to watch this thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing. It's just that I figured there's something you're trying to get to me. And there were two things that I'm thinking about this as I'm watching it, and I remember Mike Mignola's
Yes, sir.
fascination with research, and I was like, well, that's a lot like Rich. And
there's that.
Although some of the books I think I have, I was like, oh, I think I have that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. But the other part was, I was like, well, I wonder if this thing where he wants to draw, where Mike Mignola wants to draw, I have a real hard time with that, especially with my nose all clubbed, like all.
And you know,
for anyone who watches this later, I have a cold.
Everybody that I know of that hasn't actually heard how he pronounces his name says Mignola. Even Dave Finch says Mignola, and he knows it's Mignola.
Well, I was trying to say it like the movie because I was like, oh, Mignola.
Right.
But anyway. But that thing about where he wants to draw monsters, and that's what he does, I was like, Okay, so I wonder if Rich has decided, like, has he figured out kind of what he wants to draw, and this is his way of telling me this is what he wants to draw, which influences me on what I put in the writing. And
I think that's reading a lot more into it than I intended, but I just figured you'd
well,
get
that's
something
just
out
what
of
I
it
was
like
doing.
I got. I just figured you could get something out of it just like I could get something out of it. So,
Well, I
like,
did. Don't get me
on,
wrong.
on,
I was just trying to figure out what it is you wanted me to get out of it, and I
oh,
think I might have.
okay. I didn't have like a specific goal or something. It was just like that's what I was trying to explain. Like when I watched like Brandon Sanderson's uh, uh,
Classes.
BYU classes,
Yeah.
I watched 3 years worth of them before lightning struck for me,
Huh.
and it was something that was it really changed my writing, but it just took me a long time to piece this thing together, and it should have been simple, you know. But my brain, like you were talking about that the karate move,
Yeah.
taekwondo move that you know had somebody else teach you because you weren't getting it the way that it was taught.
Yeah.
But so I got an epiphany from watching that one particular class in the third set of classes. I got an epiphany from watching the Mike Mignola thing, and what I was trying to do was share something that gave me an epiphany in hopes that it gave you an epiphany. Like, yeah, I mean, there are things that I wanted to talk about that I wanted to address. Like, so I don't want to say now you have to write fantasy because, but that is kind of why when we've been talking and we go back and forth on certain things like going in the city and out of the city and all that stuff. That's kind of why I want to go out of the city because I can do ruins and I can do barbaric looking stuff if I'm going out of the city. If I'm in the city, if I'm in a congested city, it's not going to feel like barbaric looking stuff. It's going to either feel like Star Wars or uh, um, Blade Runner or any of that. And yeah, we were talking about that being an inspiration, but we don't want to mimic it, you know?
Right, but
So
a lot of this
just trying to we keep starting at the same time. I'm just trying to combine those elements, the things I love from fantasy with the story that we're telling. So I just think that fantasy could also be post-apocalyptic if you strip the magic away. And that's the one part of fantasy I hate, you know, is the magic systems. I love the monsters, I love the mythology, but it's the magic systems and that you're required to have certain magic systems and that Brandon Sanderson, and I actually just learned this from this time going through the classes.
Yeah.
Brandon's first law, you know what that is, right?
I don't remember his laws.
Well, Brandon Sanderson has 3 laws, and they're laws of magic systems, basically.
Yeah, I remember that.
The first one is the ability to end your story based on the magic system, use of magic, directly relates to how well your audience understands the magic.
Okay.
But what he's doing is he's approaching a magic system from a science aspect.
Yeah.
That's why all of his magics have components and they're almost like empirical examples so that you can test these things and they happen the same way every time.
Right. So it's really just the science.
Right.
It's alternative science.
Yeah, even though it does magic. But now think about that for a second. You like He-Man?
Yep.
That's exactly what that is. It's science and fantasy slammed together, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing the same thing when you're doing like you'll know this, but some of our audience probably won't, like Brave Star.
Brave Star.
Well, these are put out by the same company at around the same time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brave Star had Tex Hex and
Yeah.
but it was also a kind of marriage of science and magic because 3030 was a fucking talking horse that could go from a horse to a warrior, and a horse could shoot a gun.
Well, they also have. I mean, Thundercats did the same thing. I
Yeah.
mean,
They also
got,
married.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, when you start off the original series, I mean, I guess both. Okay, I don't deal with the newest crap that looks like, God, I don't know, some. There's been like 3 different versions of the Thundercats, and the first 2 were fantastic. Well, the second one's actually the best, but those first 2 at least start off with like them in space, and there's a science fiction element to it, and then you have like Mumra and his magic stuff, and yeah, I mean it's all there. Same with Thundar the Barbarian.
We went the same place at the same time there. You notice that?
Yeah.
Because it was the same thing. It was science and magic.
So
the only difference is Thundar the Barbarian was actually loosely stolen from Star Wars. That's the reason 𝕄𝔸𝕊𝕋𝕀𝔽𝔽 is a mock. It was basically to represent Chewbacca, and they slammed Luke and Han Solo together into Thundar, the Sun Sword, and Princess Leia and Princess Arya. Not to say that I don't like it. Because it's one of my favorite cartoons. I actually have all of them.
They are, like a lot of things from my childhood, great concepts that were delivered to very immature minds.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like the second version of the Thundercats better than the original. Because, like, there was one episode of that second version, the reboot, that was fantastic. Like, the art was good, the story was good. I was like, this is good. And it was like the last episode, and then they canceled the season because it wasn't selling toys. I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't really a huge fan of it. It was okay. I think it was better plotted and better story-wise, but it wasn't true to the characters everybody wanted it.
That's true. They definitely made changes.
Yeah, and the changes were huge. I mean, because you went from Lion-O to being what he was to being a teenager, pretty much.
Right. Well, they never really explain in the original. I mean, like, okay, so he ends up growing because I think there's something wrong with his thing, his stasis, whatever. And but so sometimes he's immature at the beginning, but then later on he's way more mature than he would be, and yeah, it's just kind of, there's a lot of stuff in the 80s version. It's just like, that's kind of weak writing, but okay.
Yeah, well, nobody cared.
I know.
And I think one thing that's a truism, and you'll see it in some of the cartoons today, but not the more serious, like adventure type style cartoons.
Right.
Is that they think of any kid that watches cartoon as like 6. Like they approach it like the person that's watching it can't understand any kind of adult concepts, right. And most kids are forced into adult concepts way before their time these days, so they understand those concepts and they think it's looking down on them, and I don't disagree with that. So yeah, I mean, I liked a lot of those. I don't know. I liked a lot of those mashups between fantasy and science. Or
Right.
even if you look at it, some of them, I think Thundercats is a good example. Some of them are a magic science. Like there's
Yeah.
sciences that don't work in the science world, but they look scientific because there's vehicles, or they look scientific because there's guns. But really, they're just magic stuff. Like the guns don't kill people, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I do like the way that he simplified, and I start to think about like I the whole time that I've been drawing this, and you know,
Yeah.
I've been trying to decide how much I wanted to do for line work,
Right.
like how much I wanted to do for rendering work, and that's why I was talking about maybe coloring it in Copics, or not coloring it, doing grayscale in Copics, because I wouldn't have to draw all the rendering lines. I could just put them in with the Copics. But I'm thinking if you could do the simple readable shapes with just heavy blacks, or just heavy blacks and small rendered pieces here and there.
Yeah.
Like I don't like the way uh, Mignola does a lot of like little L-shaped things inside of his characters. Like if they're stone or whatever, instead of him having a dent or a pothole or whatever, he'll just do like these check marks and upside down L's, and just kind of weird, and they give the impression that there's something there, but it's so abstract that you kind of lose track of what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to show you. Let's see. Actually, Gotham by Gaslight. I have it, and it should be. There should be some interior images. You're breathing heavy. Are you all right, bud?
I told you I'm sick.
Well, I told you if you were sick, you didn't have to come on.
I know, but
Like that's why I asked if you're okay. You don't have to.
but I missed last time too.
Yeah, well, I missed last time too, but I'm not gonna miss. Not gonna miss this time. So.
Yeah, I was kind of lucky
Just
because
the potholes.
they canceled school today. Well, they had an e-learning day. And I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. Oh. So I set my assignments up real fast, and then I was like, yeah, done. Going back to bed now.
Okay, this is a good enough example. It doesn't have to be great or close up to show you what I'm talking about. So. Okay. You see, right through here, these little kind of hash marks and dots, and
Yeah.
he gets more like L-shaped with them as he goes. But these things, they don't necessarily mean anything. I mean, it almost like feels like just space filler. And of course, now that I showed you that, I'm going to find all kinds of pictures to show what I meant. But that's basically the point. Like some of these hash marks, they don't really mean anything. Sometimes they just show flow. Sometimes they just kind of fill an empty space. And it's really weird the way that they fill that empty space. That's part of his style. I mean, so don't get me wrong.
Now
And
I know what his style reminds me of. Woodblock. That's what it reminds me of. The big solid colors, and you can do all that with woodblock. All except for the circle. Huh.
There's far more detail that you can do. What you're talking about.
I get that. I'm simply saying that's what it reminds me of. I guess it's a
lithograph, right? Somebody's talking. We got a commenter.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Warped Cell, for the best viewers.
All right.
Well,
I just saw comments pop up on the side, so.
Yeah, I know. I normally make fun of them at least once.
All right. Well.
Thank you, butts. Without you, where would we be? No, I first off, I like the prints like that. I've always liked that kind of artwork, and recognizing that is what I find appealing, I think, about Mike Mignola's artwork. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's not a dig. I hope you don't think it's a dig. It's not. It's just straight up.
No, like it. I'm pretty sure you're talking about a lithograph, right? Where they cut it out and they print it.
Yeah, that's one way.
You're basically making a plate, either whether it's wood or linoleum or
it's just
whatever, and then you're using gouges to take out the parts that are going to be white.
Yeah, but that's how.
Sort of like drawing in reverse.
Yeah, kind of.
Like if you look, Booth did a lot of those, and he has really, really fine lines, and it's not as simplified as well, I'm just saying it's not as simplified as Mignola's style.
Yeah.
And like he was doing book frontispieces and advertisements when they would run plates like that, because they didn't have the availability to print color and print covers and all that.
Yeah.
It's actually, I think, predating comics.
Huh.
Franklin.
So what convinced you to start watching Andor?
Well, I already told you I was thinking about it because you were bragging it up, so it's on you.
I'm telling you.
Well, so far so good.
My biggest problem with Andor was that
I'm only on episode 4, so.
Well, but did you notice like the first 3 episodes are basically one real episode, and it's like
it seems like that's getting him up to the what the hell they call it, the point of no return, the point where you cross into and you can't go back.
The Threshold.
Yeah, there's another name. I can't just can't think of it.
Huh.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No,
The
I get it.
inciting incident. That's what it is. Like everything going wrong at the factory was the inciting incident. Because he's really kind of aimless, just wants money and just wants to get off world. The only clue that he's got another goal, and I don't know how valid it is at the moment, is him looking for his sister.
Well, when it originally aired, I was watching them, and I remember watching that first episode because it came out weekly, so like you couldn't binge, and you'd be watching the first episode, and then it just ends. Like there is like that first episode does not have an arc, really. Like it's just stuff's happening, and I enjoyed it all. Don't get me wrong. It's just that you know how like weekly TV shows, kind of have a certain pacing, and they kind of have these markers that tell you where you are in the story. And I was so lost in that story, I was just like, "Whoa, wait, it's over? It can't be over. It did not. What?" And
the first episode or the first season?
First episode.
Oh, well, the first episode actually sold me on watching the second.
Well, that's fine. I just, again, I was enjoying it. I just was like, well, that's a weird ass place to end it. And then the second one, I was like, that's a weird ass place to end it. And then I watched the third, and I was like, oh.
Didn't both the first and the second episodes end with like flashbacks?
I don't remember.
Like he's a kid on wherever he's a kid.
I just thought once the third episode came out and I realized, well, those first 3 episodes, that's like one arc. And aren't there 9 episodes?
I thought there was 13. Usually seasons on a lot of streaming things end at 10. I don't know. It might end at 10. I was thinking it was 13.
Well, I was just thinking like it has like these arcs that are like multi-episode arcs, but it's not like a regular TV show that...
I can see that the third episode ended the arc of the first 3,
right?
And it ended with him stepping across the threshold where he's not coming back.
Right.
So, like it was like reading a book and the first 3 chapters of the book.
Right. It's and I just thought that for me and there's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong, especially when you can stream them all together now. It was just kind of a weird that I mean you say chapters, but it just didn't have a feel like. I mean, the first episode was like, well, we've reached our time, so put the bookmark here, and I don't know. That was my only thing. I was like, oh, these are kind of. It would, to me, it felt like how the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock series,
yeah,
and how like there's like 3 per season because each one is like 90 minutes,
right? Well, it's actually over an hour, but yeah. Well, that's over an hour. Sorry. I can't do that. I can't divide. I have to do the math to figure it out. I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't you just say an hour and a half?
Yeah. So, but imagine if you just went through so you have like basically 90 minutes and you just split it into 30-minute sections. Like it would be jarring until you got all 3, or at least it would be like. That's a kind of a weird place to stop. It's kind of like Lord of the Rings, where they just said, up to this point, that's a book. Up to this point, that's a book, because the publishers didn't want to publish a fat one.
Well, if they were ending the season that way, then I would agree. But just an episode, like when you're watching enough, like if you watch enough Bosch or you watch enough Reacher, they're not going to end with resolution.
Well, I get that, but
they just want to drive it until you get to a resolution. So
yeah, but
go ahead. I just like that's what my vision is. Like I didn't mind it because
well, that's good.
it had enough in there for me to want to watch the next one, and that's a win. That's a
Well,
win in my book. That if it makes me want to watch the next one, that's a win. They did their job.
well, a lot of people
If
have
it
said that, like
doesn't make me
Antler.
want to watch the next one, then they didn't do their job. Which is what my problem was with Skeleton Crew. The first one was enough. I was like, yeah, I really want to see any more of this. I don't care.
Skeleton Crew, I mean, that's fine. Again, I'm not going to try to persuade you. It's not my property. I don't care. But
well, like it also you really can't persuade me.
Oh, I know. But and there are some parts, but I enjoyed it for what it was. That there were several times where I was just, I've got a pretty large television and I'm watching this thing pretty up close, and excuse me, it's about like being at the movies. And just some of the imagery was, I just was like, this is exactly what I've wanted from Star Wars for quite some time. And I mean, it's okay. And again, everything you have called it on, like it's Goonies in space and that kind of thing, 100% accurate. And and that's perfect. If you're like, yeah, I've seen it, don't need to waste my time. I did not learn any giant magical storytelling thing at all. I didn't, but it was, for me, super nostalgic, and it was new while being nostalgic because it put me in that same space that some of those really good 80s movies would take me. And like there's like when you're talking about like you want to draw fantasy, and I'm on, I'm pretty darn on board for that. But I also know that like there's a certain part where I like the science fantasy of things like Star Wars. And it was never about I was never all that interested in droids and spaceships per se, but just seeing these worlds and like some of the stuff on Yavin 4 where they have that base that's in some old temple, or if you watch Rogue One where you have that huge statue looking thing that that looks like it fell over. So you have these ruins in this science fiction and it's fantastic. Like I'm like, yes, more of that. Castle Grayskull, it's got computers and stuff in it, but it's awesome. So
yeah, I could do without the computers and okay.
Well, I think it would be better if it didn't have to necessarily look like, I don't know. I'm more for the fantasy stuff. I don't mind hiding some of the science, but I also like having some of the science aspects of it for the clash. I don't know. It's kind of fun. It's that kind of that wonder, like science, like hard science fiction, I think loses a lot of wonder. Not that it's not interesting or suspenseful or thought-provoking. It's just not what I would call necessarily wondrous. It might be awe-inspiring.
I actually don't think that hard sci-fi is supposed to be. I think that is what the fantasy category is supposed to fill. Because hard sci-fi, with everything that I've ever heard, everyone I've ever talked to that's written it, hard sci-fi is about a concept, one concept, and how it changes the world or how it changes society, local government, etc. So that's not adventurous. That's not sense of wonder. It's a sense of how. It's a sense of unintended or intended consequences, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's the difference between dystopia, dystopia and utopia, right? Whether it's intended or unintended, the consequences.
I'm just happy that my voice has returned enough. Uh, oh, goodness. Yesterday, I sounded a lot like RFK Jr. Like, I was just bad. And,
Our new DHH,
yeah, I know.
DHHS.
I find it so funny when people try to say he's the crazy oddball versus the last one.
Well,
Like,
yes,
okay.
I've been in the argument with, oh, he's not qualified. He's not even a lawyer, really. He's an environmental lawyer, and he's been an environmental lawyer for years. How do you figure he's not even a lawyer? Because he's no longer the district attorney for the New York, which he started out to be. So it's just ridiculous. And like I was saying, they're like, oh, he's against vaccinations and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, first of all, he's against some. And there's no science to disprove what he's saying. Even though there's no hard science to prove what he's saying, there's no hard science to disprove it either. So
it's not settled, basically.
Right. If it's gonna be supposition anyway, err on the side of caution. But what I said is that you may disagree with what he believes. You may disagree with his methods of finding the information that he's gonna find. What you really can't, if you're genuine, what you really can't dispute is that he cares about the country's health.
Right.
Like, I don't necessarily approve of all the things that he wants to do, you know?
Right. Yeah.
But I do know that he's not inspired or not an uninspired bureaucrat. That's what he was running on for president, right?
Right.
Like, they were fine with him when he was a Democrat, but when he said, you know what, the hell with me being cheated out of whatever for being a Democrat, then everybody turned on him like they're piranhas.
Oh, it's because once you get off that plantation, they hate nothing more than apostates. So
right.
it is scary. I mean, they did the same thing with Elon Musk. He was fine when he was an environmentalist, but once he got red pilled, you know, he was a demon. He had been possessed.
Well, the other irony is Trump was like that once too.
I know. I thought he was going to be Clinton light. By the way, your camera's backed up again.
Yeah, my camera's got some kind of disease.
It's possessed.
Probably not a worm in its brain. As somebody else was arguing, he's got a worm in his brain, and he named it.
So you're against Americans with disabilities.
If I had a worm in my brain, you got two choices, right? You can whine and cry and live your life afraid of what's going to happen, or you can find a sense of humor about it because you're going to have to deal with it for the rest of your life.
Well,
okay, I'm going to go for the sense of humor. Like, what else you got?
I think the whole thing is like he's cogent. I think he understands. I mean, I'm sorry, when you start saying the science is settled, that means I know you have no understanding of science. Right. And I'm not saying well, because like Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to say, you know, you don't just go and read a few things online and then that's you disproving science. It's a whole bunch of
he also likes to pretend he's a scientist.
Well, I know, and it's like, you know, when they came out with studies that show or evidence that show that a lot of this peer-reviewed crap was bunk, it's like, well, it seems to me like you should question about everything, because a lot of the science was bunk, and I have no problem saying that. Yeah, there are people who know more than I do about stuff, and but I'm sorry, RFK Jr. was not the one that said, you know what, if you take this vaccine, you're completely protected and you cannot get the virus. Oh wait, I mean, you can still get the virus. Oh, hi, barbecue with Neil. I'm going to guess you're from Canada. I'm guessing. That's my. Hey, if it's barbecue with Neil from Canada, do you like Rush? I like Rush. Just pointing that out. But it's just one of those things. I don't know. I just when I've been lied to by an establishment, it's been proven, but over and over again. All right. Barbecue with Neil likes Rush.
All right. He'll fit right in. We're right out.
Yep. I ever tell you about the Rush tribute band I went and saw?
Yeah, I think you did, but go ahead and tell it again if you want.
Well,
I'm gonna get
there's one around here that I could frequent if I wanted to, and they're not bad. I mean, they're really. I was like, wow, that's really good. But I've seen Rush live a couple times, and I just felt really old watching a tribute band, and I could not enjoy the music. I just was like, I should enjoy this for what it is, but it made me sad. I mean, because it was really good. How do I like the Tragically Hip? I don't know if I have an opinion on the Tragically Hip. Sorry, Barbecue with Neil. Should I be looking more into the Tragically Hip? Oh, there went your camera again.
All right. I'm going to get a drink of water. I'll be right back.
All right.
I'll try to fix my camera in the meantime.
Yeah. Well, there, you fixed it. Good job.
Yeah. Those mousing overs, I'll do it every time.
By the way, I realized I looked like some kind of weird D&D cosplayer as the wizard, but I promise that's not me either. I'll have to look into the Tragically Hip. I feel like I know them, but I can't think of anything about them. So I'll just have to look. They're on Spotify, I'm sure. I will find them. I still feel like I know about the Tragically Hip. Like, it doesn't sound unfamiliar. I'm drawing a blank.
Let's see. They're not like Anvil, are they?
They're what?
Like you said, they're not a band anymore. The lead singer passed away. I said, they're not like Anvil, are they?
Oh.
No, Anvil is, right?
Yeah. Although, again, I can't think of a single song.
Well, when they first came out, they were a big thing. And Anvil it was like Anvil, Anthrax, Testament. They were all performing with the Bay Area stuff. But there's actually a documentary about Anvil that
I thought.
They still haven't made it. They've got a couple of really good grooves, but the problem is the lyrics are really vapid. Seems to be my word of late. But so Canadian bands. Right now, the existing Canadian band that I like the most is
Brian Adams.
Into the Ashes?
Yeah.
No, into Eternity.
Okay.
The lead singer. Well, he was the lead singer, then he went to Iced Earth, and then he went back to them. Or I don't know if he's back to them or not. He can hit a falsetto
Yeah.
and do a death growl in the same song.
Huh.
I don't really know if I know all that many Canadian bands, though, come to think of it.
Would you necessarily know that they were Canadian? I mean, I realize I know that Rush is Canadian, but A, it's Rush, and B, and I know Bryan Adams is Canadian. I know Alanis Morissette was Canadian.
Yeah, but Bryan Adams is probably not the example that they want to hold up.
Well, no.
Because he's got a stable of underage girls that he was with.
Retype the song that they sang. There was a story behind it. Okay.
What?
Barbecue Neil said retype the song that they sang. There was a story behind it.
Retype what song?
That's what I was kind of confused on.
Is Tragically a Hip a song? I guess we're not really sure whether you're talking about any of the bands that we discussed or just Tragically Hip.
Well, there's another way of solving this. Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. There is another Canadian band that I was just seeing. I can't remember the name of them, though. They had two hits. One of them wasn't a hit when it first came out. They just got replayed enough to be a hit. And then they changed their name, and they had another hit that has the same name. Oh, crap. Okay, the band. I know that band. Tragically Hip, well-respected alternative and folk rock band.
No, the songs they sang there was stories behind them. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, sorry.
But guess who was a Canadian band? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Same with it was the band that Rush really didn't like. They sang they ain't seen you ain't seen nothing yet, and
That the American? No, what the hell was that?
yeah. I'll just look it up.
But guess who?
No.
They did American Woman. The band.
Yeah, Bachman Turner Overdrive. God, I just couldn't think of him. I believe they've never, I don't think, said anything directly on camera, at least, about the band, but other than they did not like touring with them or something like that. I always find it weird when you find out that Rush opened for. Oh yeah.
None of these are the ones that I was trying to find.
I stand by Leader of Men. I don't mind. This song was great.
Saga. Maybe that was the old name. Loverboy was a Canadian band?
Oh, yeah, I knew that too.
Oh, I didn't know Voivod was either. Now that I think of it, of course I did. That makes complete sense. Yeah, I still haven't found the one that I was thinking of. Well, they only had 2 hits, and they had 1 hit, and then they changed their name because their label dropped them. And then they had another hit under the other name. But I don't remember either one of the names. I just remember the story behind it. Yeah, well. I can't look it up now, so I'm just going to go back to what I do best.
Drug.
Yeah, that's true.
So you know how Orson Scott Card said that if you want to take like a short story and turn it into a novel, it's going to have to change. Talked about that with Ender's Game and stuff.
Yeah, but didn't he just change the beginning of Ender's Game?
I don't know. Barbecue Neil or Barbecue with Neil. We're streaming on Twitch and YouTube. Yep.
For the time being.
Yeah.
Keep wanting to get on to Rumble, but I'm not very technologically advanced.
So I was thinking about this latest chapter in my novel, right? And I think for the novel, it needs to be told from one person's point of view, but I think another person's point of view would make a good short story. Same story, though.
Why do you think that for the novel there should only be a limited point of view?
Because I really don't know. There's a character who I think would make a good point of view character. Except for that's the only spot in the book where he would ever really necessarily it's something that has to happen
before.
for what?
Well, I've seen that done before.
Okay.
That there's only a point of view. Actually, George Martin does it a couple of times.
Well, I just thought
go ahead.
If I keep it in the point of view it's currently in for the novel, it's seamless and it works just fine and it goes through. But if I switch it up to, it changes the climax of it a little bit. You're welcome, Barbecue with Neil. I hope I answered your question. That we're on Twitch as well. It's under the Gordox Pub on Twitch, right?
It's Richware 1, I think.
Oh, Richware 1? Sorry.
Yeah, because that's the way Twitch does, whatever the account is.
Ah.
And it's strange that YouTube actually allows you to have several different accounts.
The artist is Richware. The artist, wait, that way. That's Rich.
This guy. What else? 2000 is Richware.
I'm just the pretty face.
Yeah, Brett's here to draw the ladies.
So you know how there was that girl that was showing up every once in a while, which, if you're here, hi. But she asked us to stream on her birthday, so we did, and then she never came back, to
Yep.
our knowledge. So one of my students asked me to do a video on the word fugitive. I was like, well, why? He's like, I don't know. I just think you do a good one. So I made a video for the song Fugitive, and I sent the kid an email with the link, and I said, there you go. Has he watched it? No. I was like, why did you ask? I spent my time on this kid. Oh, well. It was a fun little exercise, I suppose. I learned things.
Like not to take requests.
Yeah. There was, my wife had found an old video she had taken where my older boy is playing the violin. I agree with you, Barbecue with Neil. It doesn't hurt to blend in different characters to stories to create a different outcome, sort of like cooking. I agree.
Huh?
I was responding to Barbecue with Neil.
Yeah, I just don't know. Maybe I missed the context or something.
I think he was talking about the novel having different perspective versus the short story.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well,
he said you're also a very good artist.
I appreciate that.
No, I've lost. Oh yeah, so my wife found this video of my older boy playing the violin, and my younger boy. Thanks. The younger boy was playing the drums, and they're trying to do this chant that they would do at my high school or at Ball State. And it sounds about like a funeral dirge. It's kind of funny. But at the end, the boys are saying, well, that was fun. Well, that was salvageable. And I got that audio, and I got to put that into one of my videos as the outro. And I don't think the boys were super thrilled, but I was like, I could have put the music in. I got the music. So my wife was thrilled. She's like, oh, that's so sweet. But learning how to do some of that stuff on Clipchamp has been, it's been kind of fun. If you figure I started that channel, it was sometime in January. Then it's okay, Barbecue and Deal. The stuff I put on YouTube is for, for the most part, it's for my students. I started with some tech stuff for parents so they can check grades and that kind of thing. And then I started making music videos for the vocabulary that I teach. And that kind of grew into a few other things, but I've only been doing it for about a month. And it's kind of fun to watch. My original videos are basically recordings of my screen as I go through a PowerPoint. And now they're starting to have transitions and layers and all kinds of little floop-de-doops. The only bad part about doing these videos is that I haven't been writing as much as I should.
Well, you've also been ill, so that kind of puts a kibosh on it sometimes as well.
Yeah.
No, I was actually over my normal quota for Sunday,
Uh,
but
uh,
Jake looked through it. So like when you get it this Sunday, it should be a finished chapter. Hopefully,
okay.
hopefully
Yeah.
it's really close to my normal word count for a chapter
Yeah.
for this particular project.
Oh. Oh, that's right. By the way, the Enigma station is out for pre-order. If anyone wants to get that bad boy, it's an anthology. I'm in it. Yay! Oh my gosh! So I got I got something back from an editor because there was a problem with a section, and so I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't see the problem. Like I'm looking at it and looking at it and looking, like I'm staring straight. She has it highlighted for me, and I'm still like, I don't get it. I don't.
What the fuck
And
are you talking about?
yeah, like I was really confused. So then I was like, okay, all right, I see. And part of the problem was it's a page break, and there was a line above the page break that I reused the line because it's in a section that I had edited quite a bit. Like it's just, you know how I am with all my different drafts, and you get, Anyway,
Right?
so like I thought I fixed it, sent it back. She's like, okay, that's cool. But I put it in peak this time. oh, oh,
Like, for better hallway vision.
yeah. I was like, oh yeah, sorry. Well, yeah. So I was like,
So it was a redundancy, or
yeah. It was like the character knows that she's a target, and she basically says as much, and then like the next paragraph, which happens to be on the next page, and they're buried within paragraphs. So it's not like it's like the first or last line. It's just one of those, because like I will a lot of times go through and rework the same section over, like take this line and then this. I mean, I have no problem Frankensteining my drafts together. Well, I guess I have a problem Frankensteining my chapters together, but I'm perfectly willing to Frankenstein my chapters together. And this is just, it made sense in both places. And yeah, it was redundant, but it's kind of funny because I was like, yeah, get rid of the first one. The second one actually works better.
that's like if you watch.
Hey, thanks, Barbecue Neil. Stop by. We stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays normally, 8:15 to
8:15 Eastern Standard Time.
yeah.
Just in case you're not Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah. Yeah, who was it that was in California that was commenting, and then like I'm barely staying awake, and he's like, it's 8:00. It's like, no, it's 11.
Is that digital?
I think so.
Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the werewolf thing,
Yeah.
I had two stories in it, Alpha uh and Lupita,
Yeah.
and they gave me one rejection back, but didn't say what it was for. But they said, we'd love to see more of your stuff.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's kind of annoying.
Well, yeah, it's more annoying because I don't know which one that
They liked.
they turned down. I don't know if they liked the other one or not, or if it was for both of them or whatever, because they didn't specify.
Ugh.
They just said the normal things.
Right. That sucks. Sorry, man.
Well, the only reason I cared about getting into it at all is because I love werewolf stuff.
I know you do.
But it just gives me something to shop around,
Yeah.
or to self-publish, or whatever.
Ugh. Have you ever seen The Accountant with that
No,
one guy? Oh,
that one guy,
yeah. That one guy.
Ben Affleck.
Yeah. I saw that on Netflix or something. I mean, it was a while ago, and I thought, well, that's a.
I might have I generally gravitate towards those types of movies, but for some reason, the only thing that I want to think of when that comes up is fucking Tom Cruise's version.
Oh. Well, so anyway, I mean, I watched it, and the original, and I thought, oh, all right, that's pretty fun. It's a likable character. I enjoyed it, but it didn't do all that well, I don't think. And I figured, well, that was that. And then when I saw there was a sequel, hold on, I gotta mute my mic while I blow my nose.
Explode.
Anyway, let's see what John Bernthal, whatever, the Punisher, is in the sequel, and that's his brother. I was like, oh, this will be fun. Like, I think the sequel might end up being better than the original.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. So a couple days ago, I was at Walmart. Like, I don't want to say Monday or Tuesday. No, it was probably Sunday. Anyway, not all that important. So I'm going and getting like grocery stuff, and all of a sudden, it's just like my eyes are just. I mean, it looks like I'm weeping. I mean, it's just streaming down, and then my nose starts running. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on. Whatever. And so I went and grabbed a box of tissues, and I mean, I just opened them up, and I was like, just pay for it, whatever, not a problem.
Right.
I get up to the self checkout and realize that the little part you're supposed to tear off, that's the part with the barcode.
Ah.
Yeah. I was like, well, that really puts a damper on my day.
Well, they should be able to just ring that up find that.
Well, the good part is instead of littering or throwing it away, I just shoved it in my pocket and just absent-mindedly, like I was just trying to get something to blow my nose before I just have snot dripping everywhere because it was just this random attack. But yeah, I just happened to randomly have it. But I was like, of course I'm here by myself because I would have just had like if my boys had been with me, one of us would have just run back and grabbed another box so we could scan the barcode. But I guess I was lucky, but and I have no idea how Walmart feels about me ripping open a thing of tissues. But I was like, well, I have the
Yeah, I don't
cash.
think. Yeah, I don't think they care as long as you're paying for it before you leave.
Yeah.
That's why you. That's why you get to show them your receipt at the door.
Oh yeah, that's always fun. Uh,
Well, Amanda worked at our Walmart, so pretty much everybody knows us,
yeah.
and everybody knows Eli anyway. So, besides, actually, uh, his older brother works there,
All right.
so they still have family working there. One of my best friends works there, but
So one.
just the same, they generally don't care if you're opening something as long as you're ringing it up and paying for
Right.
it. So I think you're safe. That was the long and the short of that one.
So one of my former students, who I think graduated last year. I don't think it's been 2 years since she graduated, but that would have been basically 3 years since she had me. And I saw her, and she's working at Walmart, and I said hello to her, and I think that kind of surprised the crap out of her. That I don't know that I remembered or just was friendly enough just to say hi. Like,
And what does she do at Walmart cashier?
no, she was stocking stuff.
Oh,
I think. I mean, I was.
well, I asked because cashiers are the lowest paid, most abused people in Walmart. So if you were nice to her, that could have been a surprise.
I worked at as a cashier at a Kmart when I was in college for a while, and yeah, you get a. I mean, you're stuck at this register for however long, and you. No one ever told us anything about what was going on in the store, and you never, you're not out there. So then you would have customers that come up that have questions, and you're the only one they could find because they know where you are. But you don't know. Then they are pissed that you don't know, and it's like, well, if it's not in this, 15 feet, I'm not there.
I was hoping you'd be feeling better today. That's why I
Well,
asked you how you were doing. Like, if you don't feel good, you don't have to come on with me.
I know
I mean,
I don't have.
well, I appreciate that you did, but I'm saying, like, if you really need the rest, don't feel like I'm going to be mad at you if you need the rest. Because
Okay,
really, no, I mean,
I may go then because I muted myself. I don't know if you knew it, but man, I caught a while back ago, and the room's been spinning ever since, which is kind of fun because I'm sitting down.
yeah, and it's 10 o'clock, so I'm probably just gonna fiddle around
All right,
on this dude for a little bit,
then
and
yeah,
then
I
I'm
will. I
probably gonna
will.
call him anyway. Watch the rest of Andor or the rest of that episode.
Well, enjoy, man, enjoy. And I know it sounded like I didn't like that thing about Mignola, but I actually did. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I just wanted to know. I figured you had a reason for me to watch it, and
I just thought you pick something interesting out of it. I mean,
oh, well.
I do that a lot. Like I watch Jack. In case you're curious, there's a uh, there's a Jack Kirby documentary on too,
Oh yeah.
and he served in World War II, and a lot of his experiences in World War II came actually into the comic books. So, I mean, that might be something that you find interesting too. I'd love for you to watch uh, House of Flying Daggers because I think it's a masterpiece. And but
Well, I was literally going to try to watch that tonight or today, and then I laid down and went to bed.
yeah, man,
but
you
but
gotta take care of yourself.
but I was
I,
like I wanted to watch the Mike Mignola one because I was like, all right, I think because I thought I had you had kind of said it in a way that made it was like, all right, there's something I need to glean from here because it's going to influence the graphic novel. And so I was trying to, so that's all good.
maybe
And
just influenced me in the graphic novel.
no, I think we both picked up some of the same stuff, and I think it will. So it was just a matter of, yeah, the dog came up, and then I was like, oh, and then I was asleep. I just didn't care. Like, all right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you'll never hear me blame you for getting rest, man.
I will. Yeah, I will talk to you later, and have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too. God bless.
Yeah, peace out. Oh.
What do you want? What do you want? No, what's up? Ain't happening, sir. Ain't happening. What do you want?
What do you want? What do you want? What do you want, sir? What are you people? What are you? Kid, pug away? One moment. Bye, man. Why not, sir? Well, yeah.
No, sir.
Yes, sir. Mọi người đây, there you are. In here. There you are. There you are. There you are. Cool, but
Mm-hmm.
there you are. Don't try it, don't try it. Sir, how are you doing? Yeah. What do you want? We're making.
What does it look like?
Superman? Super. No, Batman. We're Batman. Batman, not Batman.
No, it's not Superman or Batman.
Superman? Superman on that.
His name is Mastiff.
For my room. For her bedroom. For bedroom. Her bedroom. Do that. Don't stop that. Hey, good. You drop it? You drop it. And then
Yep, a lot of papers.
fall down. Stop that.
Yep. Well, they don't matter too much anymore. I think I'm gonna
Drop it.
end this stream pretty quickly here.
Soon. Pretty soon. Soon.
Pretty soon, yep.
Alright. Ready? Yeah.
I wanted to at least finish this panel.
You want now? Somewhere? What else? Somewhere? We'll be at home. Oh. Cat from you. Cat meal. I'm sorry, G. Thank you. Now, hey, sit. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hey, no. No. Hey! Oh! Cat! Oh! Cat! Stop! Come on. Come on. Whatever, I'll back to it. Almost. Come on.
Well, I guess we're ending a little bit early tonight. No Brett, and my boy is getting anxious. So, got a little bit of background to do. This is not quite finished yet. Enough for you to know what's going on there. Oh, I see. Camera's doing that thing again. Anyway. One more panel. Maybe an inset thing with maybe an inset panel with some eyes over here. But maybe not. And that'll be page 10. So we've got that creature that he just bit that's going to go in because he's throwing him back. And then we've got the other character, 𝕄𝔸𝕊𝕋𝕀𝔽𝔽, going in here. All right, so thanks Barbecue with Neil for showing up and keeping us company for a little bit. As always, thanks to Brett, who is ill but graciously given us his time. Thanks to everybody that watched, liked, subscribed, followed, all that jazz. God bless. Good night. Much love.